Hello and welcome to the D3 podcast. This is your host, Matt, joined as always by John, Sam, and Kevin. How's it going, boys?
It's
Very
good.
good, very good. Kevin, can you tell the audience where you were? Because we tried to fill you in. I don't know if you heard our last episode, but fans were very concerned about your well-being. So,
Yeah, I had some complications with my 5G injection, so
Was it too much connection for you?
yeah, it was a lot.
one too many G's.
Too many G's.
Too many. Jeez, oh boy. That's fun, Kevin. That's just wonderful. Let's get into the NBA updates. We have a Knicks extending their win streak. Sam, I will give you the floor.
Look, I think we need to take Julius Randle seriously. I think the guy's been balling out like ridiculously for this team. I'm looking for more from RJ, but he's been showing up in this win streak really well. And I think they actually have a really good supporting cast, which is really weird to see because I never thought Reggie Bullock would actually be a good fit for this Knicks team. And I think he's been on this team at least 3 different times. Big shocker. I think we're not surprised because Tom Thibodeau going to a new team. I think it's the honeymoon period of that first 2 years where it's going to be, the greatest days of their lives. I hope it continues, and I think it can. Obviously the East is full of juggernauts. The top 3 are probably going to be the top 3 for maybe the next couple of years, in my opinion. But we're seeing a lot of these quote-unquote trash teams that are now moving up. We see the Hornets. I mean, they clobbered the Celtics. I mean, murdered, eviscerated. I mean, I don't know what else you want to say. Without their 2 stars. But Atlanta, my boys, they're coming up too. So it's really good to see that the East is starting to shake up a bit more, and then more guys are coming in. But just know the New York Knicks are back, baby.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. I don't think the Knicks are back. The next one, we have the Bucks have completely eviscerated the Embiidless Sixers, 132-94. Heck of a game. It really sucks for the fucking Sixers because their best player on that team was off the bench, Shake Milton, with 15 points. That's a rough look, not going to lie. Are the Bucks a legit contender in the East, John?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think like Sam said, kind of those top 3 teams in the East are pretty much the beginning and end of like the interesting teams in that conference as far as like an actual shot at getting to the championship. And I mean, like the Bucks have been, they're just they're a really strong team. They're playing well. They're still they're still very clearly in that 3rd seed spot. And when you have a guy like Giannis and you got guys like Chris Middleton, who had a terrible game the other day, but guys like Drew Holiday, like you're set up to like play good, hard basketball while also like they're the best offense in the league. I like the Bucks. I would not pick them to be a finals team just because they're officially in like I'll believe it when I see it phase just because of how badly they collapse in the playoffs. So like if they make it there, then that's awesome. And they totally have the potential for that, but I would definitely pick either of the teams in front of them before I went with the Bucks.
So I think the Bucks are actually a pretty solid contender, and the only reason is because Giannis is top 5 in scoring right now. And honestly, it's hard to really. That stat might be a little bit skewed just because I think if KD played the amount of games that Giannis played, he would definitely be up there along with Kyrie. But like John said, the Bucks are number 1 in offensive scoring or offensive leaders. They're number 4 in field goal percentage, and they're actually number 2. Well, number 1 technically for rebounds. They've got a really great defense, and if the Bucks are scoring as much as the Nets are, I think that they could pull it off just because the Bucks defense is so much better than the Nets defense. But I do agree with you, John. It is a little bit. We'll have to see what Giannis does because we all know this is a bit of a choker.
Well, and I would also just like, what do we have right now for like the Nets Suns game? Yeah, I like the the Nets just like clobbered the
Mhm.
Suns.
They did.
Nice and good with KD coming off the bench, returning from the injury. Him and Kyrie both went off. Like it's so hard to even. It's hard to even say like if any team can like keep up scoring wise with the Nets because what we haven't really seen just what that scoring pace can look like with those three guys healthy. I think that like I personally don't think that there's any team that could reasonably keep pace with this Nets team if everyone's playing, which is a big if. And like, it really will come down to probably like the Bucks would need to have like a killer defensive game. But and the Nets, I mean, at this point, it really is worth questioning, and we can talk about this later. But like, it's really worth questioning. Yeah, I think we'll talk about it next. Just like how how likely it is that these guys are going to be healthy for this season.
Yeah, and like you said, speaking of the Nets and KD, what do we think about them going in the playoffs with all the with the injury prone and everything like that? I mean, I'm hoping that KD, Kyrie, and James Harden can stay healthy. But are we a little bit nervous right now, John? Do you think we're a little bit nervous about the Nets going into the playoffs?
I mean, like, again, the only thing I'm nervous about with them is health. Like, that's it. And like James Harden, when they said like he re-aggravated his hamstring injury, that like makes me nervous. Hamstrings are like notoriously problematic, and it's an injury that can tend to linger, like over the course of a season, and so that does make me a little bit nervous. KD has been missing games left and right. Kyrie for the same, I don't think Kyrie will be missing games for personal reasons in the playoffs. So I think we can at least depend on him there. But like, it is worth like considering. I guess like if you were a gambling man, I would consider these injuries very carefully when you're placing your bets on this Nets team, because if they're healthy, I think that they're winning the championship.
Sure.
And if they're not, I'm like, well, it gets pretty dicey.
Yeah, it can definitely get pretty questionable. On the other side of the conference, we have the Lakers with Frank Vogel extension on the horizon. Anthony Davis is back. LeBron will be back in a week. Kevin, how are we feeling about the Lakers right now?
I mean, it's obviously there's a lot of concern about the Lakers because they've been struggling a lot without AD and LeBron.
Number 5 in the standings.
But they were doing so much better before with AD and LeBron, and they've definitely fallen a little bit. But hopefully they're going to be back up to basically full health once they get Bron back too. And I think signing or hearing about the Frank Vogel extension, while I might not love Frank Vogel, I think that kind of helps out the team a little bit, knowing that they'll have their coach next year too, and that there isn't any like animosity or anything like that going on. And I think that's just a morale boost for the team. And then obviously getting both of your star players back is going to be a huge boost for them. So I don't know. I think they're going to go into the playoffs on a pretty high win streak with AD and LeBron back, and that's going to just boost them big time. And they'll be playing 4 or 5 seed, depending on where they end up in the standings. So I don't know. I think that's pretty good.
It's possible. I just found out the new title for the episode. It's going to be Kevin Thinks That Frank Vogel is Trash. Let's run that, boys. Anybody else want to say anything about the Lakers? I think, Kevin, you hit it right on the spot. But if anybody else has anything else to say about the Lakers, go for it.
The Lakers are closer to a 6 seed than they are a 4 seed. And so, that's just something to keep an eye on. They'll either be playing the Nuggets or they could be playing the Clippers round 1, which is why I think the best case scenario for the league this year is that Dallas jumps in front of the Lakers, takes that 5th seed. We get a Nuggets Dallas first round series, Battle of the Euros, and then we get Battle of LA in the first round. Just really empty our clip round 1. Let's go.
That would be incredible. I would love to see the Clippers and the Lakers first round, and I think that would be just too much for NBA fans to handle, honestly.
I think everyone would love it except for Paul George. And I think they would. Honestly, I think the Lakers wouldn't even be that excited. It would be. I think they would both kind of be like, "Oh shit! Like this is kind of shitty. This is
too early for this, man."
Yeah, like
it's like in any other video game when you have to fight the boss, like when you're like level 5 or something like that, or level 1, and you're just like fighting this invincible guy, and you're like, well, this is stupid.
We just need. And then if we can get that Dallas Nuggets series, then we can get Luka, can beat a shorthanded Nuggets team, convince Jokic to join him in Dallas, and then we could really party.
Is that even possible? Can Jokic actually go to Dallas? Is that a thing that could happen?
Yeah.
Probably not. But the rule is everyone either goes to Miami or LA. And then Boston's always the number one contender, as always. Number one contender. But
Boston's always the first choice. But
it's the first choice. But
always been the first choice, and they always will be the first choice, as they have said in the past. Sam, De'Aaron Fox, he's out 10 to 14 days with health and safety protocols. Are we just like, are we saying fuck it and get him the hell out of Sacramento, or how are we feeling about that?
Well, first off, you kind of screwed me over in fantasy, and just saying, maybe he had a good time. I'm great for his own well-being, but kind of screwed me out of the finals, my friend. So we'll talk later after this podcast. I think it's been made clear. I think we all knew if Luka Doncic and De'Aaron Fox were to come together, I think that actually would have been a very solid duo. I think Luka's game, one of the previous games would be completely different, I think, as what we're seeing now. But I think this is like some of the greatest performance we've seen from De'Aaron Fox. I think he's actually matured to being a true scoring point guard. I'd be curious to see who he would team up with. Like, to be honest, like a Dallas reunion would be kind of fun. He's from Texas, so it'd be kind of to see how a combo guard would work with Luka, Dwight Powell. Just like a competent team, I guess you can say. But what's even better? Having him to the Knicks. Knicks is what we have to say moving forward. I think that Tom Thibodeau can actually shape him up into something. I don't know what it could be, to something maybe, but
something.
I mean, as much fun as it would be for Knicks fans to finally have a good point guard, I think it would be a waste to have De'Aaron Fox, someone that fast, to be in a Tom Thibodeau offense. I think it's like we need De'Aaron Fox pushing the pace. We're talking all transition all day.
Honestly, though, De'Aaron Fox with 25.2 points per game. He's around number 14 for points scored. So that's around where he is in the NBA right now. He is above the aforementioned Paul George. So there you go. There you go, Kevin. More Paul George hate. He is better. He is barely better than Devin Booker. And he is higher than Jaylen Brown. So he's got a lot of potential. And if you can put him on a fast-paced team, that would be absolutely fire. So we'll see what happens with that, of course. Rockets CEO Tad Brown to step down at the end of the season. Yeah.
Heads must roll.
John, you wanna just give your 2 cents on that one?
I'll be super quick. Good. And I don't care who you got to fire. Someone's got to get fired. And obviously, even though the owner's the one that really should be getting kicked out of this organization, he owns the franchise. So it's not like anyone's going to kick him out. He's a piece of shit owner. His team, I worry for their future. Scared for if Cade Cunningham has to go here. And hopefully they can figure it out, get it together. Poor Steven Silas. Tough year for him. People are going to get fired after you have a year like this. There's just no way.
Yeah, absolutely. Rockets are 15-46. They are literally the worst team in the league. You heard that, folks. They are worse than the Detroit Pistons and the Timberwolves. That is something to behold, let me tell you.
The Pistons got that Plumlee, though.
Hey, man, that Jeremy Grant, though. Will Barton is officially out for the foreseeable future. I think that's going to be kind of rough. Signed Austin Rivers to a 10-day contract. How are we feeling about this for the Nuggets? The Nuggets have been dealing with quite a bit of injuries and just blows for their team. Are we a little bit nervous for them, Kevin, coming forward?
Definitely. I think Jamal Murray was a huge loss, obviously, and now Will Barton is just like adding insult to injury almost. It's just they were already down and now they're just getting hurt with more injuries, and that's just you hate to see it with a team like that is really good, and but then now they're just going to get decimated by injuries right before the playoffs, which is the worst time to have an injury.
Yeah.
And right now, if we are going to have the playoffs tomorrow, they're playing the Lakers. I don't think that's going to go well. I think they much rather would want to play a team where Jokic and Aaron Gordon can go off and actually do a lot of work under the basket.
Yeah, Michael Porter Jr. That's who they're relying on.
Yeah,
Michael Porter seeing all these injuries and going like, "Oh, that's 5 more shots per game for me."
One for you, 5 for me. For the future Colorado resident and the current Colorado resident, do you guys, Sam and Kevin, do you guys think that the Nuggets stay a 4th seed, or what do you think is going to happen to that seeding?
I'd also like to announce Kevin and I are also now half-season owners for the Denver Nuggets. I just realized Kevin's like a 5-minute walk from the arena, so I was like, hey, let's just get tickets. Let's see what happens.
Oh, that's fire.
So,
lucky bastards.
Yeah, you got to jump the wagon right now. But I think the Nuggets are going to hold put. I think the resurgence of like Michael Porter Jr. is going to be pretty big. I think his role. I'm a little concerned for Jamal Murray because if Michael Porter Jr. becomes what we think he can be, I think Jamal Murray will going to have. I don't think he'll have a long future with the Denver Nuggets. I could say that. And I think Aaron Gordon, sadly, we have to praise him on this podcast. I think he's going to be an excellent fit. I don't know if you guys saw that pack on Steph Curry. Steph Curry just going up so casually and just bam, just tucks into the crowd. It's actually a fun team to watch still. Granted, I'm still a Jamal Murray like fanboy at the end of the day, but I'm not that concerned. But Kevin, so you're thinking Lakers beat Nuggets pretty easily in the playoffs as of right now?
As of right now, I think so. Just because like I think they can handle Michael Porter Jr. Very easily, and then you have Jokic and Gordon versus AD and LeBron, and I think AD and LeBron win that 9 times out of 10. So I don't know. I don't see that as a difficult matchup for the Lakers. But I think my biggest thing with all this is, like you said, Michael Porter Jr. is the guy to watch right now. If he can actually step up and be really good with the entire like pressure of this on his shoulders, I think he's gonna turn out really good. But last year in the bubble, that didn't really wasn't really consistent. So we'll see if that actually happens this year.
You know, I actually might think that Jokic might have a little bit more on Anthony Davis than we think. I do. I kind of think that Jokic is a little bit more in his bag of tricks as the Joker. I think he could possibly beat Anthony Davis like one-on-one or in that kind of scenario. But we'll see what happens. I do agree with you, Kevin. I do think that LeBron and Anthony Davis could, beat them more than lose to them. So we'll see what happens. LaMelo likely to be back this week. I just watched a wonderful game of the Hornets destroying the Celtics. It was brutal, to say the least. Celtics have no defense. I just want to say that it's abysmal. It's gone. It's done. Will the Hornets be a play-in team with his return, John? Or like what are we looking at? I'm kind of pumped for them right now.
Yeah, you know me, day one LaMelo balls. No, but I do love LaMelo. I do really like this Hornets team. They're kind of like every NBA fan right now is like the Hornets are so fun, and it's because they are. They're really fun. I think they'll probably still be. Well, I mean, God, it's so tight in the East. They'll probably still be a play-in team, but you never know. They're not like they're only like 2 games. Actually, they're only a game and a half below both the Heat and Celtics. Only 3 games below the Hawks. Like something could happen. They could go on a run if LaMelo comes back and he's doing all right. I can see them going on a run and sneaking up to maybe a 6th seed, but odds are they're a play-in team, and odds are they're probably going to lose in the first round no matter what. This is not the year that the Hornets are coming in and like making a statement in the playoffs. They'll probably have some competitive games and then be out of there in round 1 in a tidy 5 or 6 game series. Maybe 6 if they're like really on it. But hey, the Hornets are great. Next year, I think they're going to be really fun because you're going to get year 2 LaMelo after he gets to add like even more to his game, get in even better shape. People are understanding their roles more. And we love Miles Bridges. This is a Miles Bridges loving podcast. He's fun as hell. Perfect like rim running slashing partner for LaMelo. So we love the Hornets. And yeah, they're probably not, they're not a contender or anything this year, but they're a team that could grow into that kind of thing as they continue building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Bridges was on fucking fire against the Celtics today. I just want to put up the box score really quickly. Yeah, he had 20 points, 7 for 14, 4 for 8 at the 3, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. He had fun.
And if he can ever make that like a more consistent thing, because he's not really like the most consistent scorer right now, but if he can ever build to that, I mean, that's great.
Absolutely.
I am waiting for those posters. Can you get like a backtrack on that poster? I don't even know who was on, but the commentary just got me hyped up. I'm jumping out of my chair. I haven't done that in a long time.
The Hornets also have an incredible local broadcast group. Like those guys, they get so hyped. They get so hyped every time Miles Bridges does something crazy.
I love listening to Stacey King because Chicago Bulls forever, and Stacey King is awesome. But yeah, dude, the Hornets have a fantastic broadcast crew. Not gonna lie. Moving on from the very fun Hornets, the Wizards' 7-game win streak, now the 10 seed.
Yeah, it took 7 games win streak to get to the 10.
Isn't that rough to say the least? Look, did they win that deal that they had? Did they win the deal with Russell Westbrook and everything? Or are we thinking that they won the deal, John?
I definitely think they do. We were all very mean about it at the beginning of the season because it's fun to dunk on Russ, but then Russ came back and now he's healthy. And I mean, they're on a 7-game win streak. Russell Westbrook's been playing crazy. I'm sure they feel fine about the choice they made right now. They still,
Kevin, how do you see Kevin, how do you see the Wizards moving forward for the rest of the season? I mean, it would be pretty hard to convince me that they're going to do anything for the play-in. They're the 10th seed, so you got to give them that at least. But I'm not too hyped for them.
I mean, I don't think they're gonna pull out a lot of surprises by any means. I think we kind of know what to expect with that team, and it's not anything too crazy. That being said, I think they could even maybe get to the play-in spot. They could pull something out of nowhere and get into the playoffs. I don't think it's likely, but I mean, Russ has been popping off. He's getting Mr. Triple-Double again, getting triple-doubles 90% of his games the past 20 games or something like that. Bradley Beal is going off, and the rest of the team doesn't matter. So I think they at least found their stride and got Russ and Beal to start putting up 30 points a game again, which is helping them a lot right now.
So the Dallas Mavericks finally are a 6th seed, and Portland is down to 7. Sam, do you want to give us your thoughts on Portland?
Portland, it's kind of sad because you think with CJ's addition, I know they didn't have a defensive presence otherwise, but you think they'd be more of an offensive threat. And I think they are. But the thing is with those combo guards is that if one's hot, the other isn't. And I think we need that good balance. And I think we're seeing that with the Wizards a little bit, which is weird to say. They don't play defense, but on offense, they're both kind of juggernaut-ish in a way where it's kind of hard to stop them when they're on a groove. I'm not sure. I don't believe Yusuf Nurkic is back yet, and I think that's what they're waiting for. And I think that could fill up a lot of their center issues because they do have Enes Kanter, but the dude has like a broken like rotator cuff like every season. So I'm pretty sure at the end of the day he's not going to be the guy you want to rely on. But realistically, at the end of the day, it's this team has been the same thing for the past like 4 or 5 years. It's like Dame CJ, and I think that's actually a concern because they're not evolving from that. We know. I think we're now respecting Damian Lillard, which we should have been respecting over these past couple of years, along with CJ McCollum. But I think we know that their play style is still the same, and I think that's what's kind of confusing their identity. Is that are we sticking with these two guys for the rest of this road, or do we got to change now? Because at some point, Portland is gonna. This is going to be these two guys. You know, they're going to be a 6 seed, 7 seed, 6 seed, 7 seed, and you know, is that enough at the end of the day? And it may not. So I think there's some big concern in Portland in the next couple of years.
Yeah, that's totally fair to say. John, you're number 1 and 2. Apparently, according to Mark Cuban, Luka and KP, they're not exactly very friendly off the court. Compares them to Dirk's and Jason Terry's relationship. How are we seeing KP's future for the Mavericks?
I mean, I've been saying all year that I do not care about this man being a part of this team long term, and I still don't. Like, if he's healthy, when he is healthy, which is like not that often, he's a very, very good player, and he's very useful defensively even, and he's got a very useful offensive game when he is healthy. But it's not the most reliable thing, and so I think, and I think even making that comparison between him and like Jason Terry in this situation just shows that like maybe he is a little expendable. Like he didn't, you know, I don't know. Like I don't care that much about Kristaps Porzingis. I don't see him being the second option on a team with Luka that wins a title. But I did want to add something here. Just a fun little fact about this Mavericks team right now.
Here we go.
So we're just gonna play a fun little game here called Who's Won More Games Against Teams with a record of 500 or more. Okay, so like winning teams, who has the better record? Okay, so I'm gonna give you 3 total teams here. It's gonna be the Mavericks. Actually, you know what? I'll even toss in. I'll toss in another one. So it'll be the Mavericks, the Sixers, the Bucks, and we'll toss in the Nuggets. So who do you think has the best record win-wise, the highest win total against teams 500 or better out of that group?
You know, I'm gonna assume that it's the Mavericks, just with where this is going.
It is the Dallas Mavericks. They are 22 and 17 against teams 500 or better. The Blazers, by the way, are 12 and 21, abysmal.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Bucks 17 and 18, Sixers 21 and 16, so comparable, and the Nuggets are 21 and 14, so also like they have a better win percentage, but have had fewer opportunities in those games. But so this is just my way of saying the Mavericks, they belong in the 6th seed. The Blazers do not. They're just and luckily for the Mavericks, they also have, I believe, one of the easiest strengths of schedule for the rest of the season. So they should be able to hold on to the 6th seed spot, and we'll get to see Luka and KP hopefully in a healthy playoff series against the Clippers once again, probably.
I think I'm starting to have visions of the way that like Mark Cuban would possibly fire anybody. And it's got to be like him sitting in like a Shark Tank scenario. The guy comes in and he's just like, it's going to be a no for me. It's going to be a no for me. Sorry.
That reason, I'm out.
Yeah, that reason, I'm out. That's what he's trying to get ready for KP. I think that's what he's trying to do at this moment. Next we have Sam, my boy. Zion, very tempted by the dunk contest. Everybody's dream dunk contest. Everyone pick one person.
He's not doing no damn dunk contest.
That's what his knees are telling him at this point. Are we excited for a possible Zion coming to the dunk contest?
I mean, we had a show during the All-Star game. Granted, he missed like 7 of them.
Yeah.
But the power he put in, Like this guy, if he did a honey dip dunk like Vince Carter, he'd probably take the rim off and backboard.
Yeah.
That'd be so great.
And there'd be several. They have to carry several backboards, whatever arena they go to, just in case of this. But who wouldn't be excited? Like, obviously, a lot of teams are probably not interested in having their key players be in the dunk contest for injury purposes. But as a fan, like, who doesn't want like young talent, crazy hops, and then power from like a Zion Williamson? It's great. I want it really bad.
Can I just? Wouldn't it? Okay, so I understand like the All-Star break is fun and whatnot, but like,
Fun.
what if we, right, quote unquote fun? What if you just put like the All-Star break like after the season is over or after the playoffs are over? Don't you
No
think
one would play.
No one would play. No one would watch. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Do you watch?
I don't think so.
Do you watch the Pro Bowl?
Yeah, like.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, like my thinking around it is, and I'm sure you guys are right, but my thinking around it is like, okay, so the season's done, everything's over. Now we don't really have to worry too much about putting our players in. We can have the fun dunk contest. We can have what we want. More people the players might be more into it because it's not like or more than midway through the season and whatnot. That's just my thought process. But
I just think that if that happened, say they've been doing that for like the past decade, LeBron would not have been in a single All-Star game like that entire time.
Really, why do you say that?
Because he's already playing, like guys like him who like are in the finals, are making deep runs every year. They're like, when their season's over, it's like recovery time. Like it's time to like get your body ready for next year. It's not time to
1,
like
2, 3,
do an exhibition game. Like yeah, like I think that there are many problems with the All-Star game, but I don't think that the time of year is the biggest one. I think it's just like the game is not that good, but it's.
I totally understand. That makes a lot of sense. Phil Jackson, if you get 40 wins before you get 20 losses, you're an actual champion contender. Those are some big words from the big man himself.
Yeah, I think. I mean, you can't not agree with that. I mean, obviously, yeah, like the Nets are like that this year. Obviously, they're a serious contender. Jazz and the Suns also have, and the Clippers actually have that. So all those teams check that box, but I don't think that is the only criteria for being an actual champion contender. Like, I think it's counting a lot of teams out if you're saying that's the criteria you need to hit to be a champion contender. Like, I think the Lakers definitely have a lot of other factors going for them to make them a champion contender. I think the Bucks have a lot going for them, although I don't think they will this year. But some of the Sixers, like all of those teams are just on that cusp. But I think that is a good like rule of thumb from the Zen Master Phil Jackson.
Zen Master.
Yeah. Phil Jackson, did you know that if your team scores more points than the other team, you win the game? Like, I'm sorry, like this is it's so like asinine and like just like pointless and meaningless to say like, oh yeah, if you're a good team, you're a championship contender. Like, and even then, by the way, the fucking Jazz have met this criteria. Does anyone fucking think the Jazz are going to be in the championship? Like, no, come on.
To my
Phil.
hot take, yes, they
Matt,
are.
yes.
Yeah. I'm just saying, we saw, Phil, I think that your best basketball days are over. We saw what you did to the Knicks. So I don't have fun doing whatever you do, chilling in your Zen garden.
Yeah, that's rough. That's a rough look. But Kevin, Jimmy Butler, get us to the playoffs and I will take over. Is this enough for the former finals contender, my guy?
I mean, I think we saw that last year that playoff Jimmy is way on another level of being. He is one of those people that during the regular season, he is playing to his full potential for sure, but as soon as the playoffs hit, he finds that internal switch and just busts it out to 120% all the time, every game, nonstop, and I love it. I wish more people had that internal fire that he has. So yeah, I think if they can get to the playoffs, I would not count them out first round at all. I think they are very scary with Jimmy Butler if he's healthy.
Totally fair. He is the number one guy on the steals scoreboard right now with 2.1 steals per game. And the Heat themselves are number three for defensive teams overall. So, I mean, maybe that can like hold them up. I don't personally see the Heat going very far this year. Unfortunately, we've just seen way too much from them this year to kind of prove that. Um, John, I know that you are a big Jimmy Butler guy. What's your opinion on this?
I love Jimmy. He's very good at exerting his will in situations, and so there's always like at least a chance when you have him and Bam Adebayo firing on all cylinders that they'll be able to win a series. I do not think that they will make it out of the first round this year. If I've been talking about this like versus 500 and above stat this whole time, but they're 12-22 against good teams. Like, they're winning the games they should and losing a lot of the games against teams who would be like supposedly in their sphere, So I think that like you can't count out a Jimmy Butler Bam Adebayo team, but it would be a major surprise to me if they were really able to make any noise in the playoffs this year.
Yeah,
especially if either of the teams they play are healthy.
Oh, 100%. I totally agree. Sam, where are you at with this?
I think as much as we like Jimmy Butler, I think there's a little bit like I think he's kind of overrated in this case. I just don't, because we haven't seen him enough, in my opinion, in terms of playoff takeover. I'd like to see him after this year, but like you guys said, I think just if your matchup is between 1 or 2 and maybe 3, like it's going to be way too difficult, and especially with the injury plagues that they've been having, I really don't see them being that good. I mean, I think their young guys were also pumped up very well from last season with Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson, and they're kind of like subpar in my opinion.
They sizzled out a bunch.
What was that?
I said they sizzled out a bunch.
Yeah, just like the Heat, he had to be always fires. It can't be like sizzling out like that. So, and I think with Victor Oladipo just having that injury, it's not optimal at all. Nothing's going really to plan, and I think they're just banking on the growth of Bam Adebayo, who's actually probably the one who's taking the biggest step, especially when Jimmy Butler was out for most of the beginning of the season. So, I mean, this may not be their year, but I won't be surprised next year if they're back in top 3. I won't be surprised. I think they can do it.
Sure. Yeah, that makes total sense. Especially, we'll see what happens with the Sixers and frankly the Nets. I'm very interested to see what happens with the Nets. I think they're going to be pretty dominant for a few years, but I need to see what happens during the playoffs. And for that to happen, I would love to see it. Game of the week. Last week's game, we had the Sixers and the Bucks. So on Thursday, the Bucks, to say that they won, I feel like is a bit of an understatement. They won 124-117. Let me just pull this up really quickly. Yep, Shake Milton was the top scorer with 15 points. And then we have Giannis with the top scorer as 24 points. This is a pretty rough look for the Sixers without Embiid.
Wait, man, I think you're looking at the wrong Phillies Bucks game.
Yes, I am. I am looking at the wrong Philly Bucks game.
Boo.
Your host, ladies and gentlemen. Why don't you help us out, John?
Yeah, you're not wrong though. Shake Milton actually did have a good game in this one too. So he had 20 points.
Got one thing right.
But they still had him beat in this one. He kind of had a pretty not great game actually himself. I think this was one where the Bucks they just really they just kind of like were beating them the whole way through till like the fourth quarter when there was some garbage time minutes, I think. So yeah, it wasn't a great game. I'll be honest. It was not. Neither of the Bucks Sixers games were very good. So they also had that in common. Giannis played very well, missed a ton of free throws. Yeah.
I have a very hard time accepting that Joel Embiid plays 27 minutes and gets 3 rebounds in that game.
Yeah.
Come on, dude. Come on.
I
Yeah.
also had a difficult time with that.
Yeah, and I think the disappointing thing is that I think we saw Joel Embiid kind of revert to his old ways this game. Like, I really don't like his 3-point game. I think it's actually like really detrimental to how he can, because he's not as fast as we think. I know he runs the fast break, but I don't think that's where he can be utilized best, because we've been seeing him throughout the whole season, just over 30 minutes, and he's just destroying people in the paint, offense and defense. And this is not his showing. I think there is obviously a big flaw with not having Ben Simmons being able to guard anyone he wants to, or at least from a help defense. I think we misunderstand like how strong Ben Simmons is, but that dude's like, it almost reminds me of James Harden. Like James Harden's actually built like a tank. Like he's like genuinely strong. And I just think the Tobias Harris like third man, I think it's very overrated. I don't think he's actually like, he's a third man purely, if any case. Like he cannot be the second guy if Ben Simmons is gone, which is weird to say. I don't think he can actually fill that role, because I think we know what kind of person he is, and he's a kind of just a pass and shoot kind of guy. He can sit in the corner, he can drive once in a while, but I think we all know his role, and I don't think that's what's going to get this team wins if it's just by himself with the injuries that go on. And I think with the Bucks, we know it's a Giannis story, it's a Middleton story, but I think the interesting factor moving forward will have to be like, will this Brook Lopez centerpiece actually be good for them? It's pretty inconsistent for a big man, but I think at the end of the day, you kind of just need like a 7'2" guy just to be tall. And I think the Drew Holiday piece will be the one that comes into question overall. What is his role going into the playoffs? Because he hasn't been there in a long time since Anthony Davis, realistically. So we'll just have to see. I mean, they got like Bobby Portis shouldn't be scoring 23 points. I mean, I'm just if you don't let Bobby Portis score 23 points.
I was gonna say straight up, I was just like, can we just talk about how Bobby Portis scored 23 points in this game? The madman himself. The other thing that I really want to see more is like Thibault got 25 minutes that game. That's a lot. That's more than Danny Green and Hill and whatnot. They're the starting five for that game. I got to see more out of him, man. Like, he's a fantastic defensive player, but 5 points, like, come on, you gotta. I really want to see more from him, and I'm really hoping to see more.
He's very Tony Allen 2.0.
Yeah, I think he's like genuinely overrated. Like when people say I won't trade Matisse Thybulle, but it's like, I mean, the production we're seeing is like for the most part, you barely play him like more than like 8 minutes a game. And I think it's because the roster is stacked, and I think there's a lot of veteran presence, but it's like, I don't really know what the big picture is with Matisse Thybulle moving forward, but I think you could just sell him really high. I think he actually has like so much value, but I think it's very overrated. I think it's a very overrated.
I think if Matisse Thybulle could like become a really reliable corner 3-point shooter and like just have at least that, like just have like basically 2 really reliable shots, then he would be much more playable. Like because you could just put him out there, give him like one of the hardest defensive assignments, like 1 through 3, and just say like, okay, like go lock this guy up for us, and then be open sometimes, make like 4 shots a game, like like
yeah, be like a 3-and-D essentially.
Yeah, he just like doesn't have. Like he just gives them like nothing offensively. Like
abysmal, absolutely abysmal in offense, which is really unfortunate. Next week's game, boys, we have the one that John is very excited about, and that I'm actually very excited about. Golden State Warriors versus Dallas. We've got Steph Curry against the boy, the man, the myth, the legend, Luka. John, are you excited about this game?
Yeah, ready to pop another W in there. Keep the good times rolling for my Mavericks. I am picking the Mavericks to win this game. Gonna say Luka should be back for this one. He might miss the Sacramento game the day before this, just to get ready for this one. I'm gonna say that the Mavericks will win this game by 7 points. I'm going to say a nice hearty 117-110, real defensive battle. Yeah, I mean, Luka's going to get close to a triple-double again and KP is going to get like 15 points, but like Dorian Finney-Smith will get like 23 for some reason. I'm like, it'll be, maybe Tim Hardaway will have a game, but I think Dallas is going to win. This is just a fun matchup because both these teams are really desperate to like just like kind of rise as much as they can before the season ends. But I'm rolling with Dallas.
That's fair, Sam.
I hate the Mavericks out of pure because I'm from there, so I cannot go for the Mavericks out of that sake. We love Luka, little child, our little baby like this. But let's not forget about the real baby, the babyface assassin. Okay, Steph Curry has been on a montage of just ridiculous scoring. I think his lowest scoring game this month is 32 points. That's nuts. That's just like
insane.
You don't do that. You don't do that unless your name is what's his name? It starts with a W. I forget his name. His actual dad's name. Wardell Curry. Okay, Wardell Steph Curry. Only that man can do it. For me, I think it's going to be literally the last shot. I think it's literally going to come down to the last shot. So I'll go 121-120. Steph Curry. You can't doubt the boy. I don't know if you saw that wholesome video of him, Steph, and Clay. Like Clay feeling like really down, getting to his field, and Steph just like, it's okay. We'll be like really bad just for you, so you can come back, and then we'll win the title again. So that's the vibes we're getting in the Warriors because that's the team that's getting the real dub. All right, don't forget that. So it's going to be a real duel. I think I'm interested to see who guards Luka. I'd be interested to see if Draymond Green will be a primary switch because we all know that Steph Curry's defense is pretty lackluster just with his size. Yeah. But I would be interested to see if Draymond Green still has any gas to keep up with the magician himself.
So what you're saying is that Andrew Wiggins isn't going to be the MVP for the Warriors right now?
Oh, yeah, he plays for that team, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Kelly Oubre? Oh, I totally forgot about these guys. Okay, cool.
Kelly Oubre fully coming off the bench now?
Probably.
That's rough.
So.
Pretty much.
Kevin, how are we feeling about this game? What do you got?
I think it'll be close. I think, like John said, both teams are kind of vying for just a little bit higher of a spot right now. But I think I got the Warriors. Steph's been hot lately. Draymond's coming off a couple big games past couple weeks. He had 19 assists last game, I think. Stupid. Like that's unfair. He doesn't put up any points anymore, but assists and rebounds, he's their guy. Wow, I can't talk. But Steph, the problem is he's inconsistent. He's been popping off lately with points, but against the Wizards, he shot 2 for 14 from 3.
That's
not great. And then a couple weeks earlier, or a week or two earlier, he shot 4 for 13 against the Cavs. So he's still kind of inconsistent, but when he's on, oh my God, there's no stopping him. He's going to put up 45 points and 10 threes, and your team is just going to be devastated. So if he's hot, easy dub for the Warriors. I'm going to guess 116 to 110 for final score.
And you have the Warriors winning?
Yep.
Okay. Here's the thing. I disagree with your take on Steph. However, I do have the Warriors winning. I think
childish.
The thing that I want the most out of this game is I want a battle of like shooting from Steph Curry and Luka for who can shoot the most ridiculous shot and make it. Because we have seen that from both of these guys this entire season. So I just want that back and forth. And while you are right about those two games, Kevin, with Steph Curry's shot percentage being very, very low, I think it's going to be a little bit different this one. And I only think because he's going to feel a lot more competitive to win this game against Luka. I think it's kind of just like a competitive thing where it's like, this guy is younger than me. He's the new blood. Like, he's going to be like the new guy. I want to show him what's up. And then like the Cavs have who? Like Colin Sexton. and I don't know. I don't think there's much like I think there's a difference between having a bad game against a bad team and then just like being competitive and playing your like heart and soul out just to show up the other person. I have it 120 to 117. This is going to be a very
Childish.
yeah, I know, right? This is going to be a very high scoring game, and I think it comes down to the last point, which will be a 3-pointer from Steph.
I also just say Luka looking very thick on camera. Like when you get these post game interviews, got some flags going on. We gotta give him some give him Peloton, give him something, man. Can we get a sponsor? Send him something.
I am not worried about it. He's still out here putting up numbers, putting this team on his back. He needs the extra weight to make sure he can carry all of that,
That's all muscle,
I don't worry about it.
Yeah, muscle.
He's big boned. He's got a big frame.
It is muscle. It's all muscle though. He ain't working out, I tell you that.
Man, it takes a lot of energy to carry the entire team on your back, man. I don't blame him if he's coming home on the couch and he's just like, I gotta chill for a fucking second, man.
He's always got enough energy left for a last-second miracle, and that's all that really matters.
That's all that matters, dude. That's all that matters. NBA is now for the thick boys. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. That was the Deep 3 Pod. You can find us on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify, on YouTube. Share, subscribe to us, see our lovely faces. If you don't want to see our lovely faces, I don't blame you. We're not exactly the loveliest people that you can find. But listen to us on Spotify and find us on Instagram, where we have the most fire memes from Meme Lord Kevin over here. At the Deep 3 Pod. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Peace.
And for that reason, I'm out.